In the year 2147, Earth stood on the edge of change. For decades, humanity had been locked in a tense standoff with an alien race called the Krill. The Krill were not like humans. They were tall, with shimmering silver skin and eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. Their ships hovered silently in the void of space, watching Earth with unreadable intent. After years of skirmishes and near war, both sides agreed to try for peace. An envoy was sent from Earth to meet with the Krill aboard their massive flagship. This group of diplomats included Daniel Carter, a calm and experienced negotiator, and Samantha Brooks, a linguist who had spent years studying the Krill language. Together, they carried the hopes of billions. If they succeeded, it would mean an end to centuries of fear and bloodshed. If they failed, war would be inevitable. At first, everything seemed to go well. The Krill welcomed the envoy with quiet respect. Messages were exchanged between Earth and the Krill command ship, each one filled with cautious optimism. But then silence fell. Days turned into weeks, and no word came back from the delegation. The United Nations grew restless. Leaders held emergency meetings, debating what to do next. Some argued for patience, while others wanted to send a rescue team immediately. Then one day, something drifted into Earth's orbit. It was small, a battered escape pod, its surface scorched and dented as if it had survived an explosion. When engineers opened it, they found only fragments. Shattered pieces of uniforms, scraps of documents burned beyond recognition, and worst of all, body parts. Human hands, feet, even a severed head. None of it made sense. Who, or what, could have done this? Among the wreckage, investigators discovered a recording device. When they played it, the room fell silent. At first, there was nothing but static. Then came muffled voices, screaming in terror. Finally, a single sentence cut through the noise. "We are sorry." No one knew who had spoken those words or why, but the message was clear enough. Something terrible had happened to the envoy. News of the discovery spread quickly across the planet. People watched the footage on their screens, horrified by what they saw. Governments demanded answers. Protesters filled the streets, chanting for revenge. The fragile peace that had taken so long to build began to crumble. Many believed the Krill were responsible, but others wondered if there might be more to the story. Could the envoy have been attacked by rogue elements within the Krill fleet? Or was there another explanation entirely? In the midst of the chaos, Commander Alex Hart was called into action. A seasoned officer with a reputation for solving impossible problems, he was given a difficult task. He had to find out what really happened to the envoy, and fast. War loomed closer with every passing hour, and Earth needed someone to step forward before it was too late. Alex accepted the mission without hesitation. He knew the risks, but he also understood the stakes. If the truth wasn't uncovered soon, humanity might march blindly into a conflict it couldn't win. As he prepared to leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would test him in ways he wasn't ready for. Still, he pushed the thought aside. There was no time for doubt. Earth was counting on him. The escape pod sat in a secure lab, its contents carefully cataloged. Scientists worked around the clock, analyzing every piece of evidence. Meanwhile, leaders debated whether to retaliate or wait for answers. Tensions continued to rise, and the world held its breath. Whatever had happened to the envoy, it had left a scar on humanity, one that wouldn't heal easily. Commander Alex Hart stood in the briefing room of the military base, staring at the holographic map floating above the table. The map showed the path to Krill space, a journey that would take months even with the fastest ships. He knew this mission wouldn't be easy, but it had to be done. Earth needed answers, and time was running out. To help him, Alex handpicked a small team of specialists. Each member brought something unique to the mission. First was Lieutenant Grace Monroe, a skilled pilot known for her quick thinking and steady hands. She had flown countless missions near alien borders and always returned safely. Her calm demeanor under pressure made her an ideal choice for such a dangerous task. Next was Dr. Ethan Blake, a xenobiologist who had spent years studying alien life forms. Ethan wasn't just smart. He was curious, always eager to learn more about the creatures humanity shared the galaxy with. His knowledge of alien biology might prove vital if they encountered anything unexpected. Then there was Corporal Ryan Cole, a Marine with a reputation for being fearless in battle. Ryan had fought against the Krill before, and he carried scars, both physical and emotional, from those encounters. He didn't trust the aliens, and he joined the mission not only to find answers, but also to make sure justice was served. Finally, there was Specialist Chloe Vega, an intelligence analyst with a knack for cracking codes and decrypting alien signals. Chloe's ability to piece together fragments of information had saved lives in the past, and Alex hoped she could do the same here. The team gathered aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, a sleek stealth cruiser designed for covert operations. It was smaller than most warships but packed with advanced technology. Its cloaking system allowed it to move undetected through enemy territory, making it perfect for this mission. As the ship left Earth's orbit, the crew settled into their roles, each lost in their own thoughts. Alex called a meeting in the command center to lay out the plan. "Our goal is simple," he said, his voice firm but calm. "We find out what happened to the Envoy. If the Krill are responsible, we gather proof. If someone else is involved, we uncover the truth. Either way, we bring back answers." Grace nodded, her eyes focused on the star chart displayed on the screen. "What's our first stop?" she asked. "We head straight for the last known location of the Envoy," Alex replied. "It's a Krill orbital station near the edge of their territory. That's where the escape pod came from." Ethan frowned. "Do we know if the Krill are still there, or if they're expecting us?" "We don't," Alex admitted. "That's why we'll use the cloaking system to get close. Once we're in range, we'll send a boarding party to investigate." Ryan crossed his arms, his expression hard. "And if they attack us?" "Then we fight," Alex said simply. "But remember, we're not here to start a war. We're here to find the truth." As the meeting ended, the crew dispersed to prepare. Grace ran diagnostics on the ship's systems, ensuring everything was in working order. Ethan reviewed data on Krill biology, trying to anticipate any threats they might face. Ryan cleaned and checked his weapons, while Chloe pored over intercepted transmissions, searching for clues. Despite their professionalism, tension hung heavy in the air. Each member of the team had their own reasons for joining the mission, and none of them trusted the Krill completely. Still, they worked together, united by a common purpose. Days turned into weeks as the Eclipse Asterisk traveled deeper into space. The closer they got to Krill territory, the quieter the ship became. Conversations grew shorter, and the weight of the mission pressed down on everyone. They all knew the risks. If they failed, Earth might plunge into war. But if they succeeded, they could change the course of history. When they finally reached the edge of Krill space, Alex gave the order to activate the cloaking system. The ship vanished from sight, its presence masked by advanced technology. Ahead of them loomed the orbital station, a massive structure floating in the darkness. It looked abandoned, its surface scarred by battles long past. Alex turned to his team. "This is it," he said. "Stay sharp. We don't know what's waiting for us inside." No one spoke. They didn't need to. The look in their eyes said enough. Whatever happened next, they were ready, or as ready as they could be. The Eclipse Asterisk hovered silently near the Krill orbital station, its cloaking system keeping it hidden from view. The station loomed large in the darkness of space, its surface covered in strange markings and jagged scars from past battles. It looked abandoned, but appearances could be deceiving. Commander Alex Hart studied the structure through the ship's viewport, his jaw tight with determination. "We're going in," he said finally, turning to his team. "Grace, take the shuttle. Ethan, Ryan, Chloe, you're with her. Find out what happened here." Grace nodded and began prepping the shuttle for launch. A few minutes later, The small craft detached from the Eclipse asterisk and drifted toward the station. The boarding party sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. As they approached the airlock, Grace maneuvered the shuttle carefully, ensuring they didn't trigger any alarms. Once inside, the team stepped out cautiously, weapons drawn. The air was thick and smelled strange, like burnt metal mixed with something organic. The walls of the station were lined with pulsating veins of some glowing substance, as if the structure itself were alive. Faint whispers echoed through the halls, though no one spoke. "This place gives me the creeps," Ryan muttered, his voice low. "Stay focused," Alex reminded him over the comms. "Stick together and keep your eyes open." They moved deeper into the station, their footsteps muffled by the soft, spongy floor. Dr. Ethan Blake examined the walls, running a scanner over the glowing veins. "This isn't normal Krell tech," he said, frowning. "It's almost like biology fused with machinery." Chloe stayed close to Ethan, scanning for any signs of data or communication logs. Her tablet beeped softly as she picked up traces of encrypted signals. "There's something here," she whispered. "I think I can crack it." Suddenly, the group froze. Ahead of them lay a chamber filled with bodies, or what remained of them. Most were Krell soldiers, their silver skin now dull and cracked. But there were also fragments of human uniforms scattered among the carnage. The sight was gruesome. Some of the corpses had been torn apart, while others appeared to have melted, their forms twisted and unrecognizable. "What did this?" Ryan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Ethan knelt beside one of the krill bodies, examining the wounds. "These marks, they're not from weapons. Whatever attacked them came from inside, like a disease or parasite." Grace scanned the room, her weapon raised. "We need to get out of here. This whole place feels wrong." Before they could leave, the station trembled violently. Lights flickered, and a deep rumbling sound echoed through the corridors. Chloe's tablet lit up with new readings. "Something's moving," she said urgently, "and it's heading this way." The team exchanged nervous glances. They didn't have time to waste. Chloe quickly downloaded fragments of data from a nearby console before the others ushered her toward the exit. As they retraced their steps, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Then they saw them. Small, insect-like creatures swarming down the hallway. Their bodies shimmered with the same glow as the veins on the walls, and their many legs clicked against the floor as they advanced. The creatures moved fast, too fast. "Run," Grace shouted, taking the lead. The team sprinted back the way they came, the swarm hot on their heels. Ryan fired his weapon at the creatures, slowing them down but not stopping them entirely. Ethan stumbled, clutching his arm where one of the insects had bitten him. Dark veins began spreading across his skin, and he winced in pain. "We can't let those things get to the shuttle." Alex's voice crackled over the comms. "I'm hit," Ethan gasped, struggling to keep up. "Leave me behind." "No one gets left behind," Ryan snapped, grabbing Ethan's arm and pulling him along. Finally, they reached the shuttle. Grace jumped into the pilot's seat and started the engines just as the swarm closed in. The door sealed shut moments before the creatures slammed into it, their claws scraping against the metal. As the shuttle launched away from the station, the team collapsed in exhaustion. Ethan's breathing was labored, and the dark veins on his arm continued to spread. No one spoke. They had escaped with their lives, but none of them felt safe. Whatever they had encountered on the station wasn't done chasing them. Not yet. Back aboard the Eclipse asterisk, the mood was tense. Ethan lay on a medical bed in the ship's small infirmary, his condition worsening by the minute. The dark veins spreading across his arm now crept up his neck and chest, pulsing faintly with an eerie glow. His breathing was shallow, and he muttered incoherently, as if caught in a fever dream. Dr. Ethan Blake, once the calmest member of the team, was now a source of fear. Grace stood nearby, watching him with worry etched on her face. "We need to figure out what's happening to him," she said, turning to Chloe. Can you analyze the data you collected from the station? Chloe nodded and sat at a console, her fingers flying over the keyboard. She had managed to decrypt some of the files during their escape, but much of it was still scrambled. As she worked, fragments of information began to emerge. Her eyes widened as she pieced together the truth. "It's worse than we thought," Chloe said finally, her voice trembling. "The Krill weren't just experimenting. They were trying to weaponize something. They took human DNA samples and combined them with alien biology. But something went wrong. Whatever they created turned on them." Alex stepped closer, his expression grim. "You're saying this parasite is their fault?" "Yes," Chloe replied. "And it's spreading. Those creatures we saw, they're part of it. The Krill tried to contain it, but they failed. That's why the station was abandoned. Or so they thought." Ryan clenched his fists, pacing back and forth. "So the Envoy didn't die because of war. They died because the Krill couldn't control their own mess." "It's not that simple," Alex said, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. "If the Krill wanted to cover this up, they wouldn't have sent the escape pod back to Earth. There's more going on here." As they debated, Ethan let out a sharp cry. His body convulsed, and his glowing eyes snapped open. For a moment, he stared blankly at the ceiling. Then he began speaking in a voice that wasn't his own. It was deeper, colder, and filled with malice. "You cannot stop us," Ethan rasped, his words slurred. "We are many. We will spread." Grace rushed to hold him down, but Alex stopped her. "Don't touch him," he warned. "We don't know what touching him might do." Ethan's body went limp again, and he fell silent. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Whatever was inside him was dangerous, and they all knew it. Ryan broke the silence first. "We can't keep him like this. If he turns into one of those things, we're dead." "We're not killing him," Alex said firmly. "Not yet. There has to be a way to save him." Chloe returned to her work, searching for any mention of a cure or treatment in the decrypted files. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to take its toll on everyone. Finally, she found something, a reference to experimental treatments designed to suppress the parasite's growth. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it might buy them time. "We can try this," Chloe said, holding up a vial of synthesized chemicals. "But it's risky. If it doesn't work, it could make things worse." Alex hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." Using a syringe, Grace carefully injected the treatment into Ethan's bloodstream. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the glowing veins began to fade. Ethan's breathing steadied, and his eyes fluttered open. He looked confused but alive. "What happened?" he asked weakly. "You were infected," Alex explained, "but we think we stopped it, for now." Ethan sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "I remember voices. They wanted me to join them." "Join who?" Grace asked. "The swarm," Ethan whispered. "They're not just creatures. They're connected, like a hive mind. And they're growing stronger." The revelation sent a chill through the room. If the parasite truly operated as a collective, it meant humanity faced a threat far greater than anyone had imagined. War with the Krill suddenly seemed less urgent compared to the possibility of an uncontrollable alien plague spreading across the galaxy. Alex looked at his team. "We need to get this information back to Earth. But before we do, there's one more thing we have to check." Those transmissions Chloe intercepted, some of them came from Earth itself. The crew froze. "You think someone on our side helped the Krill?" Ryan asked, his voice low. "I don't know," Alex admitted, "but we're about to find out." The discovery of Earth's involvement left the crew of the Eclipse reeling. Chloe spent hours poring over the intercepted transmissions, piecing together fragments of conversations that painted a disturbing picture. It seemed some humans, high-ranking officials and scientists, had secretly collaborated with rogue Krill factions. They provided genetic material advanced technology, and classified data in exchange for promises of power and influence. The Envoy's destruction wasn't just an act of aggression. It was retaliation against betrayal. Grace paced the command center, her hands clenched into fists. How could they do this? She asked, her voice trembling with anger. They risked everything. For what? Money. Power. It's not just about greed, Alex said, his tone heavy with frustration. Some people think they can control forces they don't understand. They saw the Krill as tools to get ahead, but they underestimated the danger. Ryan slammed his fist against the wall. This is why I never trusted politicians. They're always playing games while the rest of us suffer. Ethan sat quietly, still weak from his ordeal. The parasite within him had been suppressed, but he could feel its presence lingering, a faint whisper at the edge of his mind. He didn't speak much, but when he did, his words carried weight. If we expose this, it'll tear Earth apart, he said softly. People won't forgive something like this. We don't have a choice, Alex replied. The truth needs to come out. If we don't stop this conspiracy, it'll only get worse. Chloe nodded in agreement. We need proof. Something undeniable. These transmissions alone won't be enough. Alex turned to the map of nearby Krill territory displayed on the screen. There's a command center not far from here. If anyone knows the full story, it'll be there. We go in, find the evidence, and get out. The plan was risky, but no one argued. They couldn't return to Earth empty-handed, not when so much was at stake. Using the cloaking system, the Eclipse approached the Krill command center undetected. Grace piloted a shuttle carrying Alex, Ryan, and Chloe to the surface, leaving Ethan behind to monitor the ship. His condition made him too unstable for another mission. As they infiltrated the facility, the team moved quickly, avoiding patrols of Krill soldiers. The air inside smelled metallic, and the walls pulsed faintly with the same organic glow they'd seen on the orbital station. Chloe led the way, using her tablet to locate the main database. When they finally reached it, she plugged in her device and began downloading files. This is going to take a few minutes, she whispered, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Ryan stood guard, his weapon raised. Hurry up. I don't like this place. Before Chloe could finish, alarms blared through the complex. Red lights flashed, and the sound of approaching footsteps echoed down the corridor. We've got company, Ryan shouted, taking aim at the incoming Krill. Alex grabbed Chloe's arm. Is it done? Almost, she replied, frantically working to complete the transfer. Ryan fired his weapon, holding off the enemy long enough for Chloe to finish. Got it, she exclaimed, pulling her tablet free. Let's move, Alex ordered, leading the team back the way they came. The escape route was blocked by reinforcements. With no other option, Ryan stayed behind to hold them off. Go, he yelled, reloading his weapon. I'll catch up. No, Grace shouted from the comms, hearing the chaos unfold. But Ryan ignored her, firing until his ammo ran dry. As the Krill closed in, he detonated a small explosive charge, creating a barrier between himself and the enemy. Back aboard the shuttle, the remaining crew waited anxiously for Ryan to appear. When he didn't, silence fell over them. Chloe clutched the tablet tightly, tears streaming down her face. He saved us, she whispered. Alex placed a hand on her shoulder. He knew the risks. Let's make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. As the shuttle launched away from the command center, the crew grieved silently. They had uncovered the truth, but at a terrible cost. Now it was up to them to ensure that justice prevailed, not just for Ryan, but for everyone who had suffered because of humanity's mistakes. The journey back to Earth was somber. The crew of the Eclipse carried the weight of Ryan's sacrifice, their hearts heavy with grief. Yet they also carried hope, the hope that the evidence they had gathered would expose the conspiracy and prevent further tragedy. Chloe worked tirelessly to organize the data from the Krill command center, ensuring every piece of information was clear and undeniable. She knew it wouldn't be easy to confront those in power, but they owed it to Ryan, and to everyone who had trusted them, to try. When the Eclipse finally docked at a secure military base on Earth, Alex requested an emergency meeting with the United Nations Security Council. The room was packed with world leaders, generals, and diplomats, all waiting to hear what the crew had discovered. Alex stood at the podium, his expression grim as he began to speak. "What happened to the Envoy wasn't an act of war," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "It was retaliation against betrayal. Our own people, some of our highest-ranking officials, collaborated with rogue Krill factions. They provided them with human DNA and advanced technology, hoping to gain power. But their greed unleashed something far worse than they could have imagined." Alex played recordings of intercepted transmissions, showing conversations between Earth officials and Krill scientists. Gasps rippled through the room as the truth came to light. Then Chloe stepped forward, presenting decrypted files detailing the experiments and their catastrophic failure. Finally, Ethan entered the room, his glowing eyes and faintly visible veins serving as living proof of the parasite's threat. "This is what happens when we play with forces we don't understand," Alex continued. "We risk not only ourselves but the entire galaxy. If we don't stop this now, it will spread, and no one will be safe." The reaction was immediate. Leaders demanded investigations, and calls for justice echoed through the chamber. Within days, several high-ranking officials were arrested, their actions exposed to the public. Protests erupted across the globe, demanding accountability and reform. For the first time in years, humanity seemed united, not by fear, but by a shared desire for change. But the fallout extended beyond Earth. When the Krill learned of the betrayal within their own ranks, chaos erupted among their people. Many blamed their leaders for allowing such reckless experiments to occur, while others called for peace with humanity. Factions splintered, and the once unified alien race found itself divided. For Ethan, life became a constant struggle. The parasite inside him remained dormant, thanks to the experimental treatment, but its presence was undeniable. He often heard faint whispers urging him to give in, to let the swarm consume him. Grace and Chloe kept a close watch over him, determined to help him fight the temptation. Together, they worked on finding a permanent cure, using the data they had collected to develop new treatments. Despite everything, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the mission wasn't truly over. The parasite still existed somewhere out there, lurking in the shadows of space. The Krill orbital station had been abandoned, but who knew how many other hidden labs or infected worlds might remain? Humanity had narrowly avoided disaster, but vigilance would be required to ensure it never happened again. One evening, as the crew sat together in a quiet corner of the base, Grace broke the silence. "Do you think we made a difference?" she asked softly. "We did," Alex replied. "But it's not enough to just uncover the truth. We have to keep pushing forward, making sure this never happens again." Chloe nodded, her eyes reflecting both sadness and determination. "Ryan gave his life for this. We can't let it be wasted." Ethan stared out the window at the stars, his glowing eyes catching the faint light. "The swarm isn't gone," he said quietly. "It's waiting. And if we're not careful, it'll come back stronger." No one spoke after that. They didn't need to. Each of them understood the stakes. Peace had been fragile before. Now it felt even more delicate. But they were ready to face whatever came next, together. Months passed after the crew of the Eclipse exposed the conspiracy, but the scars of their mission lingered. The world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Governments that once clung to secrecy now faced demands for transparency. People across the globe rallied behind calls for unity, not just among humans, but with the Krill as well. For the first time in history, there was a genuine effort to understand the alien race rather than fear them. The Krill, too, were forced to confront their own mistakes. Many within their society rejected the actions of their rogue factions and called for accountability. A fragile dialogue began between Earth and the Krill, driven by shared guilt and a desire to rebuild trust. It wasn't easy. Old wounds ran deep, but small steps forward gave hope that peace might one day be possible. For Commander Alex Hart, life became quieter but no less demanding. He spent his days working with international leaders to establish new protocols for dealing with alien encounters. The lessons learned from the Envoy's tragedy shaped every decision, ensuring nothing like it would happen again. Still, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that danger still lurked in the shadows of space. The parasite, though seemingly contained, remained an unanswered question, a reminder that some threats were beyond human control. Grace Monroe returned to piloting, but her perspective had shifted. She no longer saw her job as simply flying ships. She viewed it as protecting lives. Her bond with the crew had grown stronger through their shared ordeal, especially with Ethan, who relied on her support during his darkest moments. Together, they worked on finding ways to monitor Quirrell space for signs of the parasite's return. Ethan Blake continued to fight the battle within himself. The experimental treatment kept the parasite at bay, but its whispers never fully disappeared. He dedicated himself to studying the organism, hoping to find a permanent cure, not just for himself, but for anyone else it might infect. His work became a beacon of hope, reminding others that even in the face of unimaginable odds, humanity could adapt and overcome. Chloe Vega stayed close to Ethan, using her skills to analyze data and track potential outbreaks. Her determination to honor Ryan's sacrifice fueled her every action. Though she missed him deeply, she found solace in knowing his death had not been in vain. Each breakthrough they made felt like a step closer to justice, for Ryan, for the Envoy, and for everyone who had suffered because of the conspiracy. As for the Eclipse Asterisk, the ship was retired from active duty and placed in a museum as a symbol of resilience and courage. Visitors walked through its halls, learning about the mission that had changed the course of history. Among them were young recruits inspired by the stories of Alex, Grace, Ethan, Chloe, and Ryan. Their bravery served as a reminder that even in the darkest times, ordinary people could do extraordinary things. One evening, Alex stood outside the museum, staring up at the stars. The night sky stretched endlessly above him, vast and mysterious. He thought about all they had endured, the sacrifices made, the truths uncovered, and the fragile peace they now fought to protect. War had been narrowly avoided, but Alex knew true peace required constant effort. Humanity couldn't afford to forget the lessons of the past. Behind him, Grace approached, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking about Ryan?" she asked gently. Alex nodded. "And everything else. We came so close to losing it all." "But we didn't," Grace said firmly. "Because of you and the team. You gave people a reason to hope." He smiled faintly, taking the coffee from her. "Hope isn't enough. We have to keep working, keep watching. Something like this can't happen again." Grace looked up at the stars, her voice soft but resolute. "It won't. Not while we're here to stop it." Somewhere in the depths of space, the faint glow of the parasite pulsed silently, waiting. But for now, humanity and the Krill stood united, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together.